I thought we were past this Whit Merrifield discussion.
I thought a lot of things about the Mariners' social media world and fights and debates and takes, but right when you think you're out, they pull you back in.
Isn't it funny how this story came to be? For all those who don't spend all their time online and aren't aware of how Whit Merrifield, formerly Toronto Blue Jays and Kansas City Royals second baseman, now free agent, still out there on the market, looking for options at second base or corner outfield, will be 35 actually tomorrow. He will be 35 years old. It will be his birthday when this episode comes out. You remember how his name came back up with the Mariners? He went on MLB Network and uttered the phrase, "My favorite park to hit in is T-Mobile Park." And it kicked the hornet's nest again. And here we are.
How often do you hear that? People talking about my favorite place to hit is a park where you just cannot hit home runs.
I never hear it. I never. People say the opposite and they go somewhere else. I do think it's kind of on brand that a hitter with like a 700-ish, give or take, OPS for his career decides that is his favorite place to hit. It's like, well, we're the 900 OPS guys that want to say that.
In warm weather ballparks where the baseball flies.
It's probably a good idea. Or at Coors Field.
Or just in a place where they're getting paid crazy, crazy amounts of money. And we know the Mariners don't usually give out contracts like that. So one of those three options is usually the correct one. But you know what? It doesn't matter for contact hitters. It was like we said with Luis Ariz on Friday, that singles play anywhere. And for Whit Merrifield, he said the reason he likes T-Mobile Park so much is because he can see the ball well. And if you can see the ball well and you just hit singles and kind of be a contact hitter like he is, you don't need much else.
Let's put this discussion to bed. Is it a good idea for the Mariners to think about signing Whit Merrifield? Because it sounds like he'd be open to coming to Seattle.
No.
Wow.
I don't.
No clarification,
okay.
No nothing, just a no.
Okay. There should probably be some clarification. I do not think that with the Mariners' limited payroll, they are allocating their funds to the best of their ability by paying $10 or so million to Whit Merrifield. A dude who is probably going to be a bench player if he signs somewhere. He will probably be a bench guy. Maybe he'll start a couple times a week. Maybe he'll start to get some more regular starts at second base if he's playing well. But that's not a guy you pencil in every day and say, that's our guy. Not at 35 years old. Not for a guy that hasn't WRC plussed over 100 since 2020. That's just not a guy I'm interested in. We've talked about this. With this low of a payroll budget, you better use those funds wisely. And if you're going to go out and get more bats, there just has to be somebody that's going to provide more impact than Whit Merrifield is.
MLB Trade Rumor says 2 years, $18 million. That comes out to $9 million a season. So right around what Lyle estimated. Here's my take on this. Whit Merrifield should not get signed if your goal for him is to start every day and play second base or a corner outfield spot. No shot. No way. He's honestly not a... Probably depends on the team's need, but for your average contending Major League Baseball team, he's probably not a starter. I could be wrong. Teams might think he's a starter, but I certainly don't think he's a starter on the Seattle Mariners because he just doesn't hit well enough. They need hitting, plain and simple. So that kind of answers that question. But if you want him to have a different role on a team, and he doesn't need to be a major offensive contributor, in fact, all he needs to do is play defense in multiple positions and steal bases, then someone might be a little bit more intrigued in that. And I'm trying to think of who that might be for the Mariners. Lyle, who plays multiple positions, steals some bases, and just overall tries to be an ultra utility guy off the bench. Oh, Dylan Moore? So this is going to be right along the meme where there's going to be some Mariner fans out there that are saying, well, I kind of want Whit Merrifield. He used to be pretty good. He's always been very fast in the 80th percentile or higher in sprint speed for all of his career. He could be a menace on the base paths. He'll give the Mariners an extra dimension. They could throw him all over the field. And then Jerry Dipoto comes over to that fan. He sits them down on the park bench, puts his hand on his shoulder and says, you know what, Timmy? We have Whit Merrifield at home. His name's Dylan Moore. And Timmy's all disappointed and looking down at the ground, realizing he'll never get Whit Merrifield. We're not going to the drive-thru. We're going home, and we're going to have some home cooking of Dylan Moore, Lyle.
Who doesn't love home cooking? Me, that's
Some
for
people.
sure. Or not
Some
me,
people.
I should say. Well, I like home cooking. And I like me some Dylan Moore. Because guess what? Dylan Moore, in case anybody needs a reminder, signed that arbitration extension last year. So he's on that 3-year, $9 million deal. He'll make about $3 million in 2024. I'd rather give Dylan Moore $3 million a year than giving Whit Merrifield 10. You know what Dylan Moore does that Whit Merrifield doesn't do? He walks. You know what Dylan Moore does that Whit Merrifield doesn't do? He actually has some power. I know it was a little bit of a down year for Demo last year, but he got hurt, came back late, probably didn't get enough minor league time to ramp up his at-bats. Yeah, give me Dylan Moore over Whit Merrifield. Thanks. I'm not interested in paying him $10 million, and I'm not interested in a guy that's going to OPS below 700 and have a WRC plus below 100. So I'm going to stick with Demo. Shocker, because I love Demo.
Lau and I aren't guys who are going to just be over the moon if a guy strikes out too much, because as long as he's being productive, it really doesn't matter how much you're striking out. If you're not being productive and striking out a lot, then that's an issue. Demo struck out 34% of the time last year. Some people might come bang on our doors, or AKA go into our comments section and say, hey guys, why would you want a 34% strikeout rate Dylan Moore over a 17% strikeout rate of Whit Merrifield? That's a fair point. Offensive production for Dylan Moore is still better, because Whit Merrifield, each of the last 3 full seasons, as you mentioned, hasn't even had a 90 WRC plus. 90. 10% below league average. He's been below that every single season. And there's no reason why Whit Merrifield is going to see that going up. Do you want to hear a stat about Whit Merrifield? And this really encompasses his aging process, which it stinks. Guys get old. It sucks. But getting old affects speed guys the most, especially speed guys with not a whole lot of power. Well, even in Whit Merrifield's prime, he was barely breaking double-digit home runs. And now, despite the fact he has an 81st percentile sweet spot percentage, by the way, sweet spot percentage means any batted ball between 8 degrees and 32 degrees of launch angle, and more likely than not, that will be an extra base hit or a barrel or something like that. So Whit Merrifield does that among the top 20% of hitters in baseball, and still has a quality of contact and expected slugging, an average exit velocity, a barrel percentage, and a hard hit rate 5th percentile or lower. That's honestly kind of hard to do when you have the optimal batted ball on your bat. It still doesn't go anywhere. And that's not something that just magically comes back unless you eat a balanced breakfast and start playing left field for the San Francisco Giants, and stuff happens.
So in non-baseball nerd terms, for people that maybe didn't pick up on all the batted ball data from Baseball Savant, the most basic way we can put it is Whit Merrifield is squaring up baseballs constantly. He is squaring it up to the ability that Whit Merrifield has. He's squaring up baseballs, and they're still not traveling anywhere. So that's an issue, because you know what happens if you're squaring up baseballs and they're not going anywhere? When you don't square up baseballs, it's going to be even worse. So yeah, for all those reasons, I'm just not interested in having Whit Merrifield. Use the money you have left in your payroll budget to go sign an actual bat who can make some impact.
And there's a couple other things downtrending with him too. I mean, he was just last 2 seasons, -9 combined defensive runs saved at second, -7 combined defensive runs saved in the outfield. And I'm talking all 3 outfield positions combined. OAA has him below average at all 3 spots. The final 2 months of the season this past year, which is where if you're aging, it's really going to show. Whit Merrifield had a 56 WRC plus in August and a 25 WRC plus in September and October. Any team that is going to sit there and want Whit Merrifield to play every single day is going to have to realize these harsh realities that I don't know if Whit can hold up for a full season anymore, and his role might be off the bench. But if the Mariners just want a bench bat, as you said, they already have it. Dylan Moore's already on the roster. He's going to do pretty much everything Whit does. He'll steal a few less bases, but besides that, it's going to be about the same. So I'm really just gonna pass on this. So I think you and I agree with most of Mariners Twitter, which is a shock does not always happen.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't happen at all. And in fact, a lot of times Mariners Twitter disagrees with us. But I think we're all in unison for this one. At least that's how it sounds.
Yeah.
In conclusion, go sign a true impact bat, please.